everyone, and welcome to another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast. I am running here now on the channel called just called GodSaw at the moment. We're kind of going through a few changes and everything in that sense. As a matter of fact, you're going to be noticing that there's a few different little changes here. One, we're live streaming this right now. This will go up a little bit later on as a video as well, but we're going to be typically live streaming all these. Now, usually I would do one for Raw, Smackdown, NXT, all that type of stuff. I usually talk WWE side of everything, but we're not going to be doing that for the time being, mostly due to time constraints and other factors to go along with it. So it's going to be me talking mostly this week about WWE Raw on January 1st, but first day of the new year, and then the first Smackdown of the new year on January 2nd. NXT, nothing really to talk about this week as it was a year in review type show, so there was really nothing to talk about on that show. And there may be a couple of other GodSaw's Turnbuckle episodes coming up this week. We'll see how everything plays out in the end, and I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the show on that side of everything. So let's get right into it with Monday Night Raw as I'm getting my notes up over here, for January 1st, 2017. This was, of course, the first Raw of the new year. Everything on that side. That's why I say 17 instead of 2018. Yes, that's right. I just screwed it up on the first one of the year. So there you go. There you go, everybody. First screw up already this year, and we are live, so it's going to stay. So they started off with basically a cold opening. And by that, a cold opening, they didn't do anything outside in the ring. They were doing something backstage. This is something you usually see in other promotions, not something WWE usually does, but they decided to do that here. And they started off with Alexa Bliss trying to find Kurt Angle. She eventually does, and starts basically trying to get herself out of that match with Asuka and for the night. And, you know, her basically going like, why are you doing this? This should be held off to a different time. I shouldn't be facing Asuka, blah, blah, blah. Basically trying to, you know, show that she is relatively scared of Asuka, which is something we actually haven't really seen much of the female roster do. They have not been very scared of Asuka since she had come back up, even though she's pretty much been dominating everybody. No one's still afraid. But Alexa's showing that here, so this is probably a better way of them booking Asuka to go along with it, showing that someone is truthfully afraid of her in some way, shape, or form. So she's trying to get out of the match, and Kurt Angle basically is like, "Nah, the match is on, and you're lucky it's not a title match yet," and then walks off, hears his music, and goes out to the ring. And basically he did the typical hoopla, all that kind of normal stuff that you see at the beginning of the show, which is, you know, hyping up the rest of the show, talking about a few other things. But then it gets into the meat of everything, and they started talking about the Women's Royal Rumble match, which they announced a few weeks ago, to go along with everything. And, well, they basically, it was like one of those bits is like how are the rules going to work? What was it going to be? So they basically said that, and this is kind of a big one to go along with it, because a lot of people were thinking it was going to be, oh, it's going to be only 15. It's going to be 20 women. It's going to be probably a smaller one because you can't really fit 2 Rumbles into one particular show. But it looks like they're going to be doing that because there are going to be 30 entrants, and they said over the top rope, all the normal stuff to go along with it. So not only are we going to have a 30-man Royal Rumble, we're going to have a 30-women Royal Rumble for the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. That one's pretty crazy to go along with everything, mostly due to the factors of who could be surprise entrants to go along with everything, because I think on the main roster they have somewhere upwards of 20 women on the main roster, and you have the 2 champions, so you're going to probably take them out. So that's somewhere, if I'm thinking if it's 20 on the main roster at this point, that puts about 18 people, 18 women in that match to go along with it. And so it leaves room for the other entrants. Who the other entrants are going to be. How many of them are going to be legends? How many of them are going to be NXT people NXT women coming up to the main roster for a single night for the Royal Rumble match, and who, like I said, who will be making returns to go along with it. At this point in time, especially with the factors of them announcing that Beth Phoenix is going to be a commentator for the mixed match challenge that's going to be starting up here in a few weeks. I would assume Beth Phoenix is going to find her way in there, and you would figure at least you kind of think, honestly, at least one of these two would be showing up in some way. Either Trish or Lita will show up in some way, shape, or form. So that kind of leaves it wide open to where they're going to go. How many of them are going to be surprise returns, and how many of them are going to be brought up from NXT to take up those other slots that are going to be in this Women's Royal Rumble. That actually leaves it as a very interesting aspect of that match and where they could be potentially going with it, that go along with everything. So, and also with other factors, there's a chance that, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, there may be a chance that they will be doing Asuka with a title match here soon, where she won't actually be in that Rumble match, where she had already announced herself into it before. And we get some more announcements on that one. Kind of, I mean, with the women's side, you kind of expect all of them to be in there, so they each cut themselves like a quick Royal Rumble promo. You had Sasha who cut a promo. These were okay at best promos for the most part, basically hyping up the Rumble, saying that they were going to be in it. So you had Sasha early in the show, you had Bayley a little bit later, and then you had Absolution, all of them announcing themselves as one as well. But, you know, you kind of expect that with the factors, you know, that, you know, there are fewer women on the main roster, so you kind of expect all of them to be in there for the time being, to go along with everything. So it should be an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see who ends out returning, all that kind of stuff, and also showing up from NXT as well. But after all this, Cesaro and Sheamus interrupt. They basically want their rematch tonight, which Kurt says no. They also talk about him having a lot of favoritism towards Jason Jordan, and they show footage from the week before, after the show goes off the air, of him hugging Jason Jordan. So they're playing the favoritism role here. This does eventually bring out Jason Jordan to say, it's like, I didn't earn my shot type. He comes off as like, I didn't earn, if I didn't earn my shot, then why do I have the title around my waist now type. That was his only excuse. So he's coming out there. He starts getting in the face of Sheamus and Cesaro. This eventually leads to Kurt announcing Cesaro going up against Jason Jordan, which prompts Seth Rollins to come out. And I like how Seth Rollins goes about this one. He basically says, he basically is giving him a lesson on how to be a tag team partner, because it's like, you know, they're just gonna, you know, team up on you and everything. The only reason why I'm out here is to protect my own interest at this point in time. Decent enough segment in this one, and this does lead to a very good match between Jason Jordan and Cesaro, which had Jason Jordan win the match, where Cesaro basically worked over Jason Jordan's knee for a good chunk of the match, but eventually, with the help of Seth Rollins kind of distracting by going after Sheamus, Jason Jordan was able to hit his neck breaker to pick up the victory, and afterwards acting in a very cocky way, basically, where, you know, he's raising the hand of Seth Rollins, everything to go along with it, thinking that he's being that, but he's actually coming off as arrogant, everything to go along with it. I thought it was a good match, good character building as well from Jason Jordan. That's where they've really been going with this one. You can tell that he's getting more and more arrogant on a weekly basis, and it's leading to a full-on heel turn somewhere down the line here. So you have a Roman Reigns interview backstage. Basically, not much to say. Basically, his interview was talking about, you know, making Samoa Joe pay for what he had done to Dean Ambrose, everything to go along with that. And then they bring up the whole aspect of if he loses by a disqualification, he loses the title. And I think his words were like, I'm going to stay within the rules tonight. I hope, and basically walks off. So they're like teasing the factor of maybe a title change via disqualification or something to go along with that in that inside of that match, which was pretty much known going into Raw as like, if Roman Reigns gets DQ'd, he loses the title to Samoa Joe. So we'll talk about that one a little bit. Matter of fact, we got a promo from Samoa Joe that was absolutely... I'll talk about that one in a little bit. Up next, though, you had Bray Wyatt going up against Apollo Crews. And this was one of those bits that was like, you're kind of shocked this was a very good match. This was a very good match. Good showing from Apollo Crews. Apollo got to show off a little bit more, but eventually Bray Wyatt wins by using mind games to kind of like distract Dana Brooke and force her to fall onto Titus O'Neil, and then eventually hitting the Sister Abigail on Bray Wyatt. And Teddy Hart just showed up in here. What's up, man? How's it going? I might go off to the chat every now and again with everything if they show up inside of everything. But good stuff from Apollo Crews in this match with Bray Wyatt. Kind of shocking that they went with what is it? Like a competitive match. You thought this would be more of a squash match, but after the fact, am I watching Wrestle Kingdom? We'll talk about that. The answer is I'm probably not going to be watching it live, but I more than likely will be watching it to go along with everything, which I will talk about towards the end of the show a little bit more with everything today, and especially with Wrestle Kingdom being, well, tonight, because I'm doing this on a Wednesday night, and because of time differences between Japan and America, it's going to happen like really early this morning for my end to go along with it. So there's a chance I'll be watching it live, but there's a chance that I won't be watching it live either. But after, well, let's get back into everything here. But after the match with Apollo Crews and Bray Wyatt, we had Woken Matt Hardy show back up back up on the screen. Man, here's the thing. Here's the thing about the Woken stuff that they're doing so far. Actually, I'm not minding it. Considering the fact that I watched all the Broken stuff beforehand in Impact Wrestling and everything that they had done there, the stuff that they're doing with the backstage things with the Woken Matt Hardy stuff, I think has been really good. This time around, he starts cutting a promo on Bray Wyatt, saying that he's going to turn these Fireflies into his Woken Warriors, and that his Woken Warriors are infinite. And then it starts splitting the screen as he starts laughing like infinitely. I thought the stuff that they're doing is really good. More mind games from Matt Hardy. The thing is, I thought this was good stuff. I think a lot of people who might be just getting used to this and seeing this for the first time is like, okay, why was this so big? We need to start seeing more of those pre-filmed segments that they had done, which was what ended up making the Broken character so big, was the pre-film stuff, not in the arenas or like behind a backdrop or anything, but at like the Hardy compound, other things like that. And oh yeah, that's right, Teddy Hart's over in Europe, so you got an 8 a.m. start. That's actually not that bad, depending on what time you ended up going, what time you end up going to bed. Now, considering the fact that it's about 9 o'clock my time, so it would start at midnight out here. It's pretty close to time, so you've probably been up for a good chunk of the night on that one. But back to the Woken Matt Hardy stuff as I get sidetracked again with Chad over here. I got to try to dabble towards both to go along with that. Good. I thought this was good stuff, and I think I would like to see them eventually go to this Hardy compound side of everything. And I think as soon as people start seeing that a little bit more, especially if they end up doing some really good stuff with like drone shots, everything that they did back when it was Broken, I think they'll start seeing where people saw it at that point in time. You still get a lot of delete chance. Let's not get that wrong. You get a lot of delete chance, a lot of other stuff to go along with it, and I think it's coming off pretty good so far. So we'll see where they continue on with this one down the line. So up next, you had a backstage segment with Alexa Bliss. She Well, you have Nia Jax walking out of the arena. Eventually, Alexa Bliss tries to stop her from leaving, but she's going to be taking chicken soup to Enzo, who's in the hospital with the flu, which apparently, yes, he was actually in the hospital with, like, the flu or illness, but apparently he had made it back to the arena, but they sent him back because of the, not back to the hospital, but back to the hotel because of his illness. They weren't going to actually have him go out there and have the match that night. And it was like, so Alexa's like, but I need your help with Asuka, but I've got to go help Enzo. And she was like, okay, well then it's you or me. And Nia's just like, later. Not in that way. It's like, she basically said, chicken soup's getting cold, and walks out. So it almost leads it off to be like, are they friends now, or are they just like basically done? We'll see where they go along with it. On that side of it. Decent enough segment. Kind of, and also writes off, you know, Nia Jax getting involved in this match with Asuka and kind of just leaving Alexa Bliss on her own. So this leads to Alexa Bliss and Asuka. Matter of fact, let's see what the chat is saying over here. I saw something pop up. Teddy Hart, who's in here along with this, was asking if I thought Jeff was going to come back as Brother Nero. I think what I've been reading, and this is only rumor, but what I've been reading is that they are going to probably do something with Matt and Jeff with this Woken side. So there's a chance that you get a variation of Brother Nero to come along with this. It'll be interesting to see if they play off all the other little characters that Jeff had come up with during that time, like Itchweed and a couple of other ones to go along with it. That'll be interesting. But now, back into everything. We had Alexa Bliss versus Asuka. This was a fine enough match. And by fine enough match, I'm saying it was like, there was a lot of stalling, and they played this off as, you know, they're playing this off as very good booking towards Asuka and everything to go along with it, because Alexa Bliss was stalling and being fearful of Asuka eventually getting some offense in to go along with it, because, you know, they couldn't just have her get completely destroyed. They had to make her seem like a credible champion to go along with it. But Asuka eventually picking up the victory with the cross arm breaker. It was a decent enough match. They played it off. I thought it was some good booking to show, you know, someone being fearful of Asuka and not, you know, basically saying it's like, oh, I would love to end the undefeated streak. No, you know, Alexa's showing how fearful and like how dominant Asuka has been in this case, and I thought it was a good piece of booking. So this leads us to that Samoa Joe interview. Oh boy, this interview. This promo from Samoa Joe was great. Very fiery, like a fired up promo from Samoa Joe, talking on the match with Roman Reigns, also talking about what he did to Dean Ambrose, makes a reference towards Renee Young, towards Renee Young, you know, being Dean Ambrose's wife, saying that he's now like surviving off of his wife's paychecks, everything to go along with it. Like, just started making you feel a little bit uncomfortable with where they were going with everything. I thought this came off as a very good promo. This was a very, very good promo. As a matter of fact, I did enjoy most of the show to go along with everything. Very good promo here from Samoa Joe on everything to go along with it. So this leads us into Braun Strowman going up against Rhino. This was one of those bits that, yeah, this just shows how over Braun Strowman is. As I might need to clear my throat here for a sec. All right. Braun Strowman basically manhandling Rhino throughout most of the match. Slater's getting up on the ring apron, trying to cause distractions, everything in that sense. Braun Strowman eventually just chases him outside the ring, grabs a microphone, and basically, I think what he ended up saying was, it's like, are you going to be a cheerleader, or are you going to get in the ring and get these hands? Basically challenging him to get to the, to actually have the match to go along with it, which he does. He ends up destroying both of them, and Strowman picks up the victory. And then basically power slams them for a good 3 more minutes to go along with it. He would pick up Rhino, power slam. He'd pick up Seth Slater, power slam. They even got to the point of playing his music, and then he would just pick them both up again and then power slam them one more time before he eventually leaves to go along with it. I thought this was good stuff. And the crowd was going nuts for this as well. I think AJ Styles does need to. I don't think he's going to headline WrestleMania this year, though. I think that's still probably going to be Lesnar, which is a bit unfortunate on that side. So back on to Raw in this one, we had Rollins and Reigns backstage basically talking about, like Rollins is kind of making sure that Roman's cool and that he was going to stay within the rules tonight, everything to go along with it, because he wants at least the 2 members of the Shield that were there to still remain champion for the time being. This eventually has Jason Jordan come in, and he starts doing like this giant pep talk thing about, saying that if the bar gets in the way, we're gonna step in there and everything to go along with that. It's good stuff, and you kind of see where they're going with Jason Jordan. He's getting really fired up about it, but you can also tell he's got like this he has this aura of invincibility that's almost just over arrogance to go along with it at that point in time, and I thought it was some good stuff. This also leads to another backstage segment with Braun Strowman. He runs into Kane. Kane just wants to talk. He wants them to team up against Brock Lesnar and take him out, everything on that side, which Braun was basically having none of it, saying he would just win on his own merits and everything on that side. And then Kane just does this weird back out of the frame picture, just backing up type bit to go along with it. It was an interesting segment with everything on that one. This leads us also to another segment right before we have Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns. It was Kurt Angle and Finn Balor backstage. Finn Balor makes reference to entering the Royal Rumble match. He even makes reference to the aspect that he never got his title rematch and that he would be okay. It's like not complaining type thing, but it's like, I'll be okay going through the Royal Rumble, even though I haven't gotten what he was supposed to go with. And then Kurt was like, I thought you were going to be talking about something else in the terms of who's going to team up with you for your 6-man tag. And then lo and behold, who shows up but Gallows and Anderson? Oh man, if this was big to a lot of people, probably not to everybody. This might be a little bit weird for a lot of different people that go along with it, because Gallows and Anderson are technically heels while Finn's supposed to be a babyface, but they teamed up with each other with Bullet Club and everything on that side, so they play off of that a little bit, saying that the history between the two of between the 3 of them to go along with it, and Finn's like, yeah, I'd rather have these guys on my team than on the other side to go along with everything. So you're gonna get them a little bit later on in a 6-man tag with Elias, Bo Dallas, and Curtis Axel. So yeah, some decent stuff, decent segment here. I did rather enjoy that segment. So this leads us to Samoa Joe going up against Roman Reigns. Man, this match. This is a really good match. I liked what they were doing here. I wouldn't say it was anything new with what they were doing, but the 2 of these guys put on really, really, really good matches, and they come off as extremely stellar matches here. This was definitely a pay-per-view quality match that they were putting on here on Monday Night Raw. They played off of the DQ rule towards the end of the match, but they didn't play off of it too much. They played off of it where you had the steel stairs set up, and Roman was teasing that he was going to hit Samoa Joe with it, even to the point that Samoa Joe basically says, "Go ahead, finish me." To go along with it, trying to egg him to actually hit him with the stairs, but Roman Reigns doesn't do it. They have a bit where like Samoa Joe pushes Roman Reigns into the ref, which almost does it, but then also you had Roman push the ref out of the way while Samoa Joe was charging in, which eventually led to the spear, and eventually led to Roman Reigns winning. this was a really good match. It was a really good, fun match of going with it. They didn't over tease the whole aspect of this DQ rule, so it was there, but it didn't necessarily get in the way of the match. And then you also had little bits at the end of the match, like Roman Reigns, he, takes the title, kisses the title, and he's showing the importance of having this title. It's something he didn't really do when he had the United States title. He felt, because he would just throw it over his shoulder, and that would just be what it was. But he's showing much more difference with this one in his interactions about it. And he's giving that title importance. It's important to him. And showing that to the crowd to go along with it. Matter of fact, he's gotten even better towards the aspect of the kickouts as well. If you notice, he's getting ever so closer. Like when he's supposed to kick out at like just 2, he's getting ever so closer to the mat. The hand will get so much closer to the mat now before he kicks out, like actually teasing that the match is going to end there. And then you're seeing a lot of different things inside the ring. I would consider really good with Roman Reigns on this side. He's definitely showing that he's getting a lot better in there. Obviously, he's getting booed. He's still going to get booed by a good chunk of the crowd, but I'm recognizing that his in-ring is getting really, really good. It had been good before. This stuff with Braun Strowman and everything on that side I thought was really good. He's showing even more improvement now than where he had been beforehand to go along with it. So, really good match. I found this one extremely enjoyable. So, we had and then this does lead to another backstage segment with Kurt Angle and Paul Heyman. Basically, Heyman says this is the year of the beast, and if Kane and Strowman decide to team up against Brock Lesnar, that he was going to be proactive, not reactive, and that was basically it on that one. Not much to go along with that. So this leads us next to Drew Gulak and Ari Daivari being in the ring. They're reading it like a prepared statement from Enzo Amore. Well, Gulak was reading a prepared statement from Enzo Amore. God, Gulak's so good. I am enjoying Drew Gulak. Every time that I get to see something with him, it comes off really good. And it's just basically off of his tone and everything, the way he plays his particular character, and taking everyone's stuff and kind of correcting it to what he thinks it should be to go along with it. I do end up liking what this ends up being. They eventually get interrupted by Cedric Alexander, who says, so since I don't get my title match tonight, I still want competition, so which one of you two is going to fight me? And they're like, we'll take you on a tag match if you find a partner. And it's like, oh, no one's going to walk out there because you don't have any friends backstage or anything to go along with that. Though there is Mustafa Ali, but he's not the one that comes out. Ends up being Goldust. Interesting one. That's an interesting one. As a matter of fact, we've been seeing this a little bit more. As a matter of fact, Hideo Itami's technical debut was him teaming up with Finn Balor against Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. We're seeing a little bit more of the interaction between the cruiserweights and the rest of the main roster, which is a good thing. I would think for the 205 Live stuff. It has to be a good thing on that side because, they're trying to get them to probably get a little bit more over everything on this side. Maybe interacting with the rest of the main roster would be that way of doing it. As a matter of fact, Goldust in the tag match even does like a flipping crossbody pseudo moonsault thing to go along with it. So he's trying to play off a little bit of high flying to go along with everything, trying to stick to what they were doing a little bit to go along with it. It was a decent enough match, with Cedric Alexander hitting the lumbar check on Drew Gulak and picking up the victory. I thought it was a decent enough match with everything. So this leads us to that Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel, and Elias going up against Finn Balor and the Club. Before the match, of course, Elias brings in, does his musical bit, has Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel join in with everything. I think Bo Dallas has like a cowbell, which he was just over hitting extremely hard. Eventually, Elias was like, okay, that's enough. And then he goes into his bit, and then he gets interrupted by the Club. And then, of course, Finn Balor comes out. Now, the match itself, I thought was a rather quick match. It was a rather quick match, but it was a good enough match. It was definitely a good enough match as well. And it was, honestly, it was really good to see Finn Balor and the club working together, where they end the match with Gallows and Anderson hitting the Magic Killer onto, I believe, was it Bo Dallas? I believe it was Bo Dallas, and then Finn Balor hit the coup de grace to pick up the victory. And I liked it, like just the way that Finn Balor was out there. It looked like he was having the time of his life. Just being able to, you know, rejoin up with Gallows and Anderson again, and because you just saw this giant grin on his face throughout the entire thing. It was one of those little bits that's like, yeah, he was enjoying this a little bit, being able to do this bit. And it'll be interesting to see if they continue on with this a little bit more. And are they going to turn Gallows and Anderson face, or are they going to turn Finn Balor heel at some point to see where they're going along with everything? So it'll be interesting to see how they play off of that if they decide to continue on with it. So this leads us next to basically Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. Heyman promo. It was what it was. It was what it was. You know, Heyman hypes up Lesnar, hypes up the match at the Rumble, cuts a very, very good promo. And as they go to leave, Kane comes out. He immediately goes after Lesnar and choke slams him, which Kane's like, okay, we're good. And he leaves. He starts to leave. And then Lesnar sits up like The Undertaker, just basically not having any of it. And then, you know, and then stares down Kane with like a giant smile on his face to go along with it. And they have a pull-apart brawl to finish off the show. Decent enough segment here. Decent enough. I thought it was a pretty good segment. But it wasn't anything great. It's what we've kind of seen a lot with Lesnar beforehand as well, with everything. So overall, I thought it was a rather enjoyable Raw. I thought it was a pretty good one to go along with everything. They did a lot of good building towards the Royal Rumble, both Royal Rumble matches. And yeah, it ended up being a rather enjoyable Raw. So let's go into SmackDown Live. So SmackDown Live for obviously January 2nd now, their first SmackDown of the year. So this they start off the show. AJ Styles comes out. He starts cutting a promo on the whole thing from last week with Sami Zayn, Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens, all that kind of stuff to go along with it, and how he's going to be facing Sami Zayn later on the night, and he was going to bring out Daniel Bryan to kind of just explain what's going on. So he brings out Daniel Bryan. Shane McMahon immediately interrupts before Bryan says anything, and Shane basically goes off and says, like he's starting to question Daniel Bryan's thinking and everything on that side, which they kind of play off a little bit more of that a little bit later on in the show as well. But he says, since Kevin Owens will more likely be at ringside, which Daniel Bryan hadn't even said whether or not he was going to be, to go along with it, that Shane was going to be at ringside. And then Bryan was like, okay, then I guess Owens is allowed at ringside tonight, but I'll also be at ringside to go along with it as well. Okay enough. Nothing crazy about it, but it was a fine enough segment and kind of set up for later on in the match, or later on in the night. So you had Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable going up against the Usos, and this is the tag team title match that they were basically going to, that they had gotten for beating the Usos. Was it last week, I think, or it was a couple weeks ago? I forget. Off of this one. This match started off, and it looked like it was going to just be a really quick match. Matter of fact, most of the initial match happened during the first commercial break that they put in there, that you would get to see on the little stream, but, you know, no commentary, no nothing to it, and it was also a lot smaller than the commercials that were being shown to go along with it. Because, and like I said, most of it happened there because when they came back, Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin, who were in control most of that time, eventually lose the control, but then regain. But after a hot tag happens, basically one of the Usos goes off on everybody and is knocked outside of the ring. But they get the other Uso and they do their finisher, but Chad Gable makes the pin. So Shelton Benjamin and the other guy, who's not in the ring, were the legal people that go along with it. And they get the pin and it looks like we had new tag team champions. But then, lo and behold, out of nowhere, they decide to do instant replay. Another ref comes out and basically pointed out to the referee the mistake, and he shows the instant replay of where the tag was, where the tags were, and who the legal people were, and they decide to restart the match, which ended actually relatively quickly as well. The match itself was good. Like, the action that they did was really good, but it was really quick. And this whole thing about them coming out and doing an instant replay, which with the Usos winning the second portion after the restart, which is probably going to continue on this feud as well. It's one of those things that's like, okay, now that they've said it and put it in there, that it's like, oh, we can do instant replay with the referees and everything on that side. Now they would have to do that more often. If this is a one-time thing, then why are you doing it? But if they start doing it more often, okay, then maybe we should go that route. This ending is a wait-and-see type thing to see whether or not they were going to do anything more with it. This whole factor of instant replay and everything to go along with that. We'll see if they go that route, but apparently it's like, okay, we can be like the NFL, the NHL, Major League Baseball, every place that has these instant replays to go along with it. So we're going to do that now. If this is a one-time thing, why are you doing it? If it's not going to be a one-time thing, okay, we'll see where this can go. And it definitely made it feel like it was something more legitimate at that time, at least at that point. It kind of suspends your disbelief a little bit to go along with it. It's like, oh, okay. So this leads us to a backstage interview with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, basically talking about the match later on in the night, saying that it's like, yeah, even though all these guys are going to be at ringside, it's not going to change the fact that Sami Zayn's going to beat AJ Styles. Everything go along with that. These two interact with each other so great. And it's probably because they've, done it in the indies, everything in that sense to go along with it. Like, to the point, it's like, Owens is just kind of, looking over Sami Zayn's shoulder and everything to go along with it. And then he sees something like on his hat and he kind of brushes it off. You have, like, these little bits of, like little character bits to go along with it. And I thought it came off really good. So this leads us into the Bludgeon Brothers going up against Breezango, which the match never happens, and eventually the Ascension come out after Breezango gets beaten down a bit, and basically they get beaten down too. So nothing much to it, basically them, putting over the Bludgeon Brothers a little bit more. I've been liking where they go with the Bludgeon Brothers now. With, like, the more I see it, the more I'm actually kind of digging it. With where they're going with everything, basically them just being very intense at any given point in time. I'm starting to dig a little bit more towards the factor that, at least them doing the heel work and everything to go along with it. I think they're doing pretty good. So so you get a backstage segment next with the New Day. Basically, they are going to ring in the new year by giving like a little present to Xavier Woods and giving him a New Year's wish and talking about the United States title tournament that Xavier Woods is in. Eventually, Rusev and Aiden English come in. They ruin the wish by like Rusev saying it's like, oh, Rusev blowing out the candle and talking about the fact that they're eating pancakes to go along with it. I like this. I like where they're going with everything with the stuff with Rusev and the whole Rusev Day thing. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, like I said, the segment itself I thought was a very good segment backstage. It was a very entertaining segment, and I thought it came off really good. So this leads us into a very quick promo on Mojo Rawley, with Mojo Rawley talking about his match coming up with Zack Ryder, which didn't happen on this SmackDown. I think it happens next week. I'd have to double check that. I don't think it actually happened during this show. At least I didn't see it in any way, shape, or form. So I might have missed something while I stepped out for a brief moment, but I don't think so. I think they were hyping that a little bit more for next week, especially since they still have about 3 weeks before the Rumble, so they can kind of do a little bit more with everything before going further with it and setting up for the title finals that are supposed to happen at the Rumble itself. So decent, very quick promo, but basically saying what he was going to do to Zack Ryder when they have their match, and yeah, nothing really much to that one. It'll be interesting to see how Mojo Rawley really comes off as a heel a little bit more. We haven't really seen too much from it yet, but we have to see a little bit more. We'll see if they do more with it as well. So this leads us into the match with Aiden English and Xavier Woods. You had Aiden English going to be singing. He was going to sing beforehand, but Rusev is like, it's almost like Rusev's like, no, you have a match tonight. Let me sing for you. And he sings about how he's going to win the match, everything to go along with it. I thought this was good. I thought this was a pretty good one. Not because Rusev's like by any means a good singer, but just came off as very entertaining. To go along with everything. Now for the match itself, I thought it was a really good match. I thought they put on a fairly good match here, and it came off, like I said, it came off really good on that one, with Xavier Woods winning with his jumping elbow off the top rope. He gets on the turnbuckle and then he goes to the top rope and then jumps out for his elbow. I thought it was a good match. It was a fairly entertaining match. And then they, of course, the New Day celebrate afterwards. You have Xavier Woods like eating pancakes around the U.S. title, and they're doing stuff with the commentators to go along with it. Like, the interactions with the commentators in the New Day are absolutely hysterical with what they're doing. Like, you have Big E like throwing stuff at Corey and at Byron and everything to go along with it, which that's a different talk for a later time about their commentary, because, or at least on the Byron side. I don't know much on the Corey side of everything, but Byron Saxton sounds very, very annoying recently, and I wasn't really thinking that for the longest period of time. I never really found him off as like a very annoying announcer, but like the last few weeks he just comes off, well, maybe not last few weeks, but like his interactions with him and Corey Graves, like he just, I don't know. I'm not sure how I end up feeling about that. I will wait and see more before I give a full opinion about Byron Saxton's commentary and everything, of where everything's going with that one. So this leads us to another interview backstage. You had Natalya, Carmella, Tamina, and Lana basically cutting a promo with their match with the Riot Squad. This was a decent enough promo, basically all of them talking about how they were the welcoming committee and that this was just a cheap knockoff and they were the original. So I thought it was a pretty good promo. I thought it was a decent enough promo leading into their match. This led to that match with Natalya, Tamina, and Carmella going up against the Riot Squad. The match itself was fine. It was a rather quick match. And the Riot Squad goes over with Ruby Riott hitting her her bicycle type kick to, oh, I forget who. I think it was Tamina. Yeah, it was Tamina, because Liv Morgan shoved Tamina off the top rope because she was going to go for the big splash, and then Ruby Riott hit that kick to finish off Tamina to go along with it. Riot Squad cut a promo, or Riot cuts a promo after the match, basically saying that Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan were going to be in the Rumble to go along with it. There was something else to it too, but it's not jumping off the top of my head exactly what she was saying. But she ends up getting cut off by Charlotte. And Charlotte starts cutting a promo, basically saying it's like, your actions have consequences. She brings out Naomi. So it's like, okay, Naomi's coming out. And then lo and behold, Becky Lynch returns, and then there was a big brawl. The Faces took control. Becky Lynch does a couple of suplexes in the ring and basically chases them all off. And Becky Lynch is back now, which is really good. I like it. Will this give us another 6-woman tag match? Yes. But Becky Lynch is back. That's all that really matters with that one. Baron Corbin cuts before the main event. Baron Corbin cut a promo saying how much he can't wait for being in the Rumble, everything to go along with it. He's basically said, oh, that U.S. title, yeah, I'm doing the Rumble now. Okay. Which is also kind of a way to really go about it, because Baron Corbin's already out of the title tournament to go along with that. So, yeah, it was a decent enough promo. Nothing spectacular. It's just like how quickly Baron Corbin has switched his focus from, I'm going to be in the, I was going after the U.S. title now. And he's not even showing like he's fuming from that. The fact that he was in the tournament and lost in the first round. No, he's focused just now on the Rumble. It's like he doesn't play off of that in any way, going further to go along with it. It was a decent enough promo for a Royal Rumble promo, but it was one of those bits that's like, wait a minute, weren't you just going after the U.S. title? Why aren't you angry at the fact that you lost an opportunity at that? That's just kind of how I was thinking at that point in time, with everything to go along with it. But decent enough promo. I thought it was a good promo with everything being said there. So this leads us to the main event of the night, which was Sami Zayn going up against AJ Styles. This was a good enough match. Of course, there was going to be lots of interference, everything. Well, I wouldn't say a lot of interference, but you knew where they were going with this. Eventually, they play it off as there was like a little bit of hoopla, and eventually the referee gets knocked outside the ring. And then they play it off as like Kevin Owens is trying to check on him, but the ref's trying to get back in the ring. But AJ Styles also has a pinfall attempt, and Kevin Owens blocks the ref from getting in there. So Shane shoves Kevin Owens and gets the ref to throw him out. And then Shane says, then Brian's like, well, why don't you leave then? To go along with it. He says over the microphone to go along with everything. And then this leads to AJ Styles eventually getting distracted enough because he goes back after Kevin Owens again. And Sami Zayn hits him with a haluva kick, picking up the victory, and Sami Zayn wins the match against AJ Styles. The match is decent enough, but again, it's one of those things I kind of wish they would do more, or let them just kind of do an actual one-on-one match. After the match, Styles basically gets on the microphone saying, he's like, you know what, just to make everyone happy here, why don't you just make it a handicap match? Give me both of them. And Brian basically says at the Royal Rumble, you're going to defend the title against both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So they're playing it off. Is Brian really showing favoritism towards them? Or going off on that side of everything? Or is this like a little shade of gray that he's showing this favoritism because of Shane McMahon's vendetta? So it's like he's kind of showing Shane the opposite side of what he's doing, and how far Shane's been going along with it. And like there's an area of gray that they could potentially go with it, though they could just make it simple. It's like Daniel Bryan's just favoring them because he wants to, or something to go along with it, and that Shane's got his little vendetta. Or they could go with that area of gray. It's like maybe Bryan's trying to teach Shane a lesson to go along with it. We'll see where they go along with this one. It'll be interesting to see where they go along with it. And it will be interesting to see if they try to truthfully turn Daniel Bryan heel in this way. I don't think they really can, because I think he's been over enough that I don't know if the crowd's ever going to really turn on, because they were still doing yes chants and everything to go along with it, with this announcement of a handicap match at the Rumble to go along with it. Interesting enough, Smackdown overall was kind of, I would say kind of on that one. It was kind of all over the place. Yeah, it definitely had its ups and it had its downs, and I thought they did some relatively good stuff with it. And we'll just see where everything goes. Like I said, it was decent. They were kind of setting themselves up, not necessarily more for their Royal Rumble matches, but they were setting themselves up for their more the other main event scenes with the title match and of course the U.S. title tournament and everything to go along with it. And you also had the return of Becky Lynch with that as well, which, like I said, good thing on that one. So yeah, that's basically everything this week, at least WWE side. There's nothing to really talk about NXT side, due to the fact that it was a recap show and that they will be going back to their normal side every week. That's more why I'm kind of doing this on Wednesday this week versus maybe doing this on Thursday or Friday after I've had a chance to watch NXT. So yeah, that's basically everything I got on the WWE side of everything. They are starting up announcing partners for the mixed match challenge as well now. And they announced a Raw and Smackdown team today. I'll double check to see if they've announced any others, but the two that I've seen that they've announced is that Alexa Bliss will be teaming up with Braun Strowman, and they have like these backstage segments to go along with it, where like someone gets revealed their partner, and then on SmackDown side they announced Charlotte teaming up with Bobby Roode to go along with everything. So I like how they're playing that one off already. With Charlotte and Bobby Roode, they're playing off like the fact that they both wear robes and everything to go along with it. I like where they're going with that one. We'll see how everything ends up playing out. And no, it doesn't look like they've set up any... no, it doesn't look like they've set up any other teams on that one. Just double checking on that. It doesn't look like they have. So on the side of everything, like I said, that's everything I've got for the WWE side this week. Now, as it pertains to Wrestle Kingdom, more than likely I will not watch it live. I've got work in the morning, very early in the morning. I could probably watch the main events waking up, going into it, but that's basically all I would be able to do. Now, I have got myself New Japan World, everything on that side. I will be watching Wrestle Kingdom in some way, shape, or form, whether it be later tomorrow, well, it'll still be tomorrow at that time, or on a different day. But I will still be watching it, and I'm going to do a special episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle for Wrestle Kingdom. Yes, I'm gonna start dabbling into this a little bit more, especially with the factors of this being a big pay-per-view. I've been wanting to... I haven't watched a full show. Now, I'm going to emphasize that one. I haven't watched a full show of New Japan Pro Wrestling. I've seen matches here and there. You know, the matches I really want to see. So I haven't watched a full show to see how everything looks, feels, everything on that side. So I can even give my take and how I feel watching a full New Japan show to go along with everything. Their network that they have is an interesting one. You got to do a lot of stuff via the search bar. It's not as easy to navigate as the WWE Network. And don't get me wrong, the WWE Network's not the greatest, but it's definitely, like, in the terms of finding something, probably a little bit easier. So you have to use more of the search bar function versus like them having different sections really set up. It's an interesting way of going, and it'll be interesting to go through everything on that to go along with it. And like I said, I'm actually very amped to watch this show. I want to see that match with Naito and Okada, and of course Omega going up against Jericho to go along with it. And they have a few other matches on there that I'm actually very interested to see, because I've seen a decent amount of these matches from different people now, from the ones that I have seen, that I'm interested to see a full show from New Japan Pro Wrestling, how it ends out coming off as a whole, and we'll see down the line there. But I think I might be doing more New Japan Pro Wrestling stuff to go along with it as well, and talking over on that side of everything as well. So expect a Wrestle Kingdom 12 review somewhere down the pipeline a little bit later this week. If I get to watch it tomorrow, I might even do it tomorrow to go along with it at that point in time. We'll just see how everything ends up playing out and how I end up feeling about everything to go along with it. So, yeah, with that being said, everybody, I thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And, of course, as well, I hope you enjoyed the content. And we will be seeing you next time on the Terms of GodSaw's Turnbuckle side with Wrestle Kingdom 12. So, again, guys, have a great day.